I'm Markus Frey. I'm living in Helsinki, Finland. I've been doing Kendo now for 34 years, I think. So I started when I was 17, and I'm right now I'm 7th Dan Kyoshi, and I've been preparing for the Hachidan test for a couple of years, but it was postponed due to the Corona, and I'm still waiting for a chance to take part for the first time. And I'm one of the teachers in Helsinki Kendo Club. It's called Kiken Taichi. And then I'm also teaching at the Helsinki University Kendo Club. And Kendo takes me to different places all over the world. So it's kind of like a pro-amateur thing for me. And as I said, I started Kendo when I was 17, but before that I was playing very seriously soccer, and then I was kind of like very fascinated in Japanese culture, and when I was a teenager I was reading through all the Japanese books and the samurai stories, and watching all the Kurosawa movies, and then I got interested in Aikido. I did Aikido for a couple of years, but then I saw an ad that Kendo was there was a Kendo camp in Finland, and at that point Kendo had been in Finland for just like 6 months, and then I went to the practice and stayed there, and I was so fascinated, and after that I stopped Aikido and continued Kendo, and I'm still doing it. That's kind of like in a nutshell.
Great. So what was the Kendo community like in that? Like, that's 3 decades ago. I'm not sure things have changed quite a bit. If you remember, could you describe what it was like? How many people? What was the level of practice?
Yeah. We were really beginners, and Kendo came to Finland through Germany. There was actually he was a Kyudo teacher, archery teacher, Felix Hoff, and he was from Hamburg, Germany, and he came to Finland like in a 3-month intervals to teach Kyudo, but then the first people who started Kendo in Finland, they learned that Felix Hoff was also, there was Kendo in that Hamburg Kyudo dojo. So those people, they asked that, why don't you bring Kendo sensei with you when you come here next time? And that is actually how Kendo started in Finland. And in the beginning, it was only like every 3 months, we had a small seminar, a weekend seminar with the German teachers, and we were influenced a lot by German Kendo. At that point, for example, we built our like cue grading system with the German rules as a principle. And at first we had only one club in Helsinki, and actually we didn't have a proper dojo. We were practicing on tatami, on a judo dojo, and that was like 1987. And but we were very, very lucky, because soon after we started, we practiced at the Helsinki Olympic Stadium judo dojo, and there was one practice where there was a Japanese guy standing. He came to see the practice, and he was watching the whole practice, and then we saw him like doing all the Kendo movements by himself. And at the end of the practice, he came to us and he introduced himself, and he was a Colonel Uematsu. He was working for the Japanese embassy in Finland as a military attaché. And he said the famous words, which were that, I think I can help you. So we were actually really, really beginners. So he saw that we desperately needed some guidance and practice. And at that time, he was fifth dan, and he had been the captain of the military cadet, military academy or something like that. And yeah, then we started to practice with him. And it was a very lucky thing for us, because he was really like a very good person, and he put a lot of emphasis on basics and suburi and stuff like that. So we didn't develop any bad habits from the beginning. And yeah, it was a small community at that point, like 1988. I think we had 3 dojos, mostly in around the Helsinki area, but it has been a steady grow after that. Not fast, but like very gradually. Now we have like 25 different dojos around Finland, and one big, I think, a key factor in the growth was that in 1989 we applied from the Japanese Zenkenren, the Japanese Kendo Federation. They have this Haken system that you can apply for a teacher from Japanese Kendo Federation, and ever since like 1989. The Japanese Kendo Federation sent really like a top professional teacher for us to help the dojos, help the common people who are just practicing Kendo as a hobby, but also to train the national team for the Europeans and World Championships. So every year we got a professional Kendo teacher for 3 months, usually during the springtime. And then he was practicing with the national team, and then he was visiting the dojos all over Finland. And that was like a big boost for Finnish Kendo. And this system continued for 25 years. And it was like a really, really good thing for us. And yeah, we had a very good connection and a network with different teachers from Japan. They were policemen with a very hard training, and also like then university teachers who could give like more like educational points of practice. So we could build our system through their like really precious help.
So there are a lot of communities around the world that are still in that early phase. If you were to think back, and even with your experience now, I know every place is a little bit different, but what are some of the early teachings or early types of practices that like this All Japan Kendo Federation delegate brought that helped develop the Kendo, develop it not only to help grow it and to make it more interesting to people, but also to provide the right framework for people to do good Kendo and not just learn something, and when he leaves, you're falling back into bad habits?
Well, I think all of the senses that stayed with us, they put a lot of emphasis on the basics, a lot of suburi, a lot of kirikaishi, a lot of uchikomi, kakarigeiko. Not a secret recipe, but a lot of like hard work and really like basic practices. We did a lot of footwork, for example, which is like one of the weak points of, for example, Western people, because we have long legs and a short back, and our legs are big and lazy. So usually the Japanese senseis who came here, they watched the practice for an hour or two, and then they decided that, okay, for the next 3 months, we will do footwork. And then it was oikomi. from one end to the other end of the dojo, and but they also like we could like feel their passion and their enthusiasm, and also the social side of Kendo, that you make friends and you have a connection with people, and because those are, it's not just the practice, it's also like what happens outside the dojo, and we got involved with the senseis, we became good friends with them, we visited them in Japan, so it was like building up, they were providing us also the network, and that was like really, really good thing. And I can see that happening in for example, I go to South Africa every year to practice and to teach with Uwe Kumpf sensei, who is like the leader of the delegation. He's from Germany. He's been going there for 20 something years. And I could see like South African Kendo, it resembles me about Finland when we were at the one earlier stage. And it's also like they're very like enthusiastic and really keen on learning and building up the federation. So yeah, to have connections, it's really like crucial for the development of the country's Kendo.
So speaking of these relationships, there's ones that you develop inside your country, and then there's ones that people visit, and then there's the ones as you grow more mature, you're going to elsewhere. What are some of these? Like you mentioned, there's senseis that come to Finland, who are a few that you really found like a good affinity to, that you interact with often. And then through your practice and travel, what are some places, including like South Africa and the people there, that you've developed a good bond with?
Well, South Africa is one. It's very close to my heart at the moment because I really like the people there, and then you can see the sparkle in their eyes when they practice Kendo. So that's a very good thing. It's the key kamai, what's inside of you, the heart, the like the flame that keeps burning. But then I'm going annually to, for example, to Luxembourg. Russia is very close. It's just like St. Petersburg is just like 3.5 hours by a bullet train from Helsinki. So we go there every year to teach. So we have a very good connection with them. There are areas close by like Estonia, which is just over the Bay of Finland, Bay of Baltic, sorry. And it's just like 1 hour by boat. Then there are, Spain. We go to southern Spain once a year. I've been to Romania many times, Hungary, what else? Yeah, Belgium, France, Turkey. I'm sure I don't remember all of them, but yeah, it's kind of like I try to visit the places many times, because then not just if you go there just once and leave, so it's okay, you can make a good seminar, but to try to build a long-term relationship with the people in that special country, so that's, I think, more fruitful for everybody.
So going to these places, because they're like, you're traveling, there's expenses involved, so there's some kind of connection that was built from both the sensei side and the junior side. What do you think that you bring to those places that people enjoy and people want you back? And what do they have there that attracts you to continue supporting them?
I think, I can, okay, going and giving a seminar is very easy. But I think my task is to go there and really to encourage the local people, the local leaders there to take good care of the students there, and I try to motivate them and try to give them different points of view of how to teach things, how to make difficult things interesting, and how to make easy things deep, and stuff like that. And really, my best reward is to see those people like really enjoying Kendo and seeing them again next year, that they didn't stop, but they continued practicing and developing. That's always a great thing to see when you go there next year, and you can see that, wow, this guy has really been working on his development. So it's a two-way street. You give and you are given.
Often you will see in some places when they first start out, there's different pockets of like Kendo people with different personalities and interests, and they practice. And then when someone senior comes, that's a good chance to bring them together. How do you find ways of getting them, like you said, encouraging them not only to support their own practice, but also to work together more even after you leave?
Well, it's usually I try to encourage the people, to take care of each other, to have even if we have people with different level, and there is one possibility is to have different groups according to the level. But I'm very fond of this idea that Kendo is for everybody and for every generation, and from the very, very early junior to the grandma stage. So it's to do the same practices together, to have this. They call this Issho Kendo. It's the lifelong Kendo, and I think that's the beauty of Kendo, that it provides something for people with different ages. For juniors, it provides discipline, and maybe the parents will bring their very active juniors to the dojo to just to channel the energy. And for young teenagers, for young adults, maybe there's Shiai, which brings like excitement and motivation. Then for adults, it's the social side, the network, the friends. And for older people, if you want to practice Kendo until a high age, you need to take care of yourself. So the health issues are very, very important. So I try to put emphasis on these different kinds of things, and really to have this feeling that, okay, you cannot do Kendo alone. And that's why you need to be good friends with other people and show the good manners and show respect to everybody. Because if you don't have friends, it's very difficult to practice Kendo alone. Of course, you can swing your shinai with suburi, but that's a bit boring. So, yeah.
So I want to move back to your Kendo and your practice. Yeah. And I'm always interested when someone has had a very focused, kind of very disciplined practice before they start the martial arts. And in your case, you mentioned soccer. So I was wondering if you maybe could compare similarities and differences between the hard types of practice being at a really high level performance, and how they're similar in the way and how they're different.
Well, I think there are a lot of like similarities in I think in every sport, if you do them on a high level. And right now there's a European Championships in soccer going on. And last night I watched the match between Spain and Italy, and you could see that these guys are like really, really like top professionals. The speed and how they make the decisions and stuff like that. It reminds me of Kendo on a high level, when you have to make a split-second decisions, and really, if one makes just a small mistake, you take advantage and maybe you score. But maybe for me, when I practiced soccer, it kind of like helped me to have this kind of like attitude towards training, because I never missed the training in football, and I've like almost never missed the training in Kendo. unless I'm sick or injured. So it kind of like give me the idea of the value of hard practice and not giving up the consistency of working hard and then like seeing the progress.
I also hear like for people that have played football or soccer early in their lives, when they take up other sports, their footwork is a lot better because that's where they focus. So their balance and their reaction.
Yeah, especially I think balance and maybe the footwork is quicker because that's really like essential in football. So I think it helps. And I think it's not just football. I think because Kendo I find Kendo like very difficult, and you can see it with beginners that for some people it's like really difficult. It needs a lot of coordination, the voice, the body, the hands, the footwork. There's a lot of things happening at the same time. So if you have your background in some other sports, it surely helps you to learn Kendo as well.
The other thing you mentioned was that split-second decision. And normally when we think about high-level sports, those that are unfamiliar just think about the physicality, like you're stronger, you're faster, but this decision-making is like mental. It's seeing an opening and taking advantage of it, being decisive. How have you kind of developed that over time if you were thinking about it in Kendo too?
Well, I'm still figuring out, but I think it's a combination of preparing physically, because then it gives you, for example, if I think myself now, I was supposed to take the Hachidan test last year in May in Kyoto, but due to the COVID, it was postponed, and now Japan is pretty much closed, so you can't go there. But when I was preparing for that test, I was trying to build up my self-confidence, both by just practicing physically, but also like thinking the kind of like mental practice, mental images, how to take care of all the small details, I went through all the creating, what happens like a day before at the spot when I entered the court and stuff like that. And these things, they kind of like click together when you are in a good physical condition and you feel that you are like, well, we are never ready, but you feel that you have like done your best in that amount of time that you were given, then that kind of like breeds your mental side as well. So then you are more focused, you have more like self-esteem, and you feel that, okay, I can do this. So these things, the further you go and when you get older, this mental side, it kind of like compensates the lack of strength, or you getting weaker. So it's really like important. And when you face the Hachidan sensei, who is like 70 and you can't hit them, you can really feel that, okay, the mentality, they are so focused and they are like so experienced that there's nothing you can do. But it builds gradually, I think. I would like to have an enlightenment, but I'm pretty sure that it comes gradually. You know, you just build up your Kendo, and then at some point you realize that, okay, I can handle this.
I think that also shows in like the amount of years between grades. It's showing that it just takes that much more time. And a lot of us realize that there's the years that it takes, but then there's also time in the dojo. And eventually you realize that, okay, even the time in the dojo is not enough, so I have to bring it outside, and I'm thinking about it and working on it like at home or on the way to work or that kind of stuff. How have you noticed your Kendo showing up outside of the dojo? How you think about it, how you practice?
I'm a graphic designer, so visual designer by profession, and I also do a lot of like art stuff and stuff like that. So it's really like funny, or and I find it really like I'm curious about it. I don't know how it happens, but whenever I have a sort of like a breakthrough in Kendo, it instantly shows in my design or my art, in my art, and vice versa. When I have some revelation, when I get more experienced in my design and get more like developing the own style and how to tackle the problems and stuff like that, it shows in Kendo. There's a small step up also in Kendo. I don't know how it, well, it's me doing the both things, so maybe that's the connection, but I can see it clearly in also others outside the dojo.
No, go deeper in that. Like what are examples of things that have happened? How have you looked at your work differently?
Well, in graphic design, usually you are solving a problem, a design problem. So you are not going too far from the center anymore. So you are kind of like approaching the main problem more like in a straight way. That's the same in Kendo. You can go right, left, take a detour, and then you have to come back to the center. This is what happens in design. So the process comes more like straightforward and maybe sometimes quicker. I don't think that's the main point, but maybe the focus. It's more focused, the process. And also, if you think about Kendo, it's a way to deal with yourself and also with your personality and get to know yourself. So with the art stuff, you are like using your experience and your emotions and maybe subconscious for as your material. And maybe you get like, the older you get, the more like you have more experiences, ideas, thoughts, stuff like that. So you can use them as a material, and then something unique might pop up. And it's also like getting through the experience and through the hard practice, you get more confidence on yourself, and that's very like important in Kendo as well, because you need to have confidence in order to put pressure on your opponent and have tame to wait for the right opportunity, and then go fearlessly when you see the opportunity. So these kind of things, I think, relate.
So for people that have practiced for a long time, even for like early beginners, there are these times where your practice changes and your perspective on the practice changes. I like to think of it as like, the question I typically ask is, if you were to split up your budo life, your entire budo life into before and after, what's this point where that makes it different? Like from the past to the future, what's this point? I realize that for people that practice for a long time, there are multiple points. Like there's like, I used to be this and then I completely changed. And then you go on for another 10 years. Oh, and now I completely change again. But like, what are examples of those things where you have these big changes in how you see the practice, how you see your life, how you approach it, all that?
I think the big change was when I passed sixth dan, and because that was the first time when I like felt the responsibility to give back also, because I've been like helped by a lot of like good teachers. And if you think the ranking in Kendo, so the sixth dan is the first, like the teacher rank. And at that point, I felt that, okay, something changed. I wanted to give back. And after that, when I reached the seventh dan, that it was even like more dramatic. Then it was like you change your identity from a Kendo practitioner to a Kendo teacher, when you really want to help other people to, you track them with you. Like, okay, let's go that direction together. So that was, I think the main turning point was, it started from the sixth dan, but the main turning point was the nananan level. Before that, it was like I was just like using all the opportunities to practice. Then I was in the national team for a very long time. I stopped competing when I was 2008, and that was maybe also one smaller turning point. Then I felt that, okay, I need to get serious with Kendo. Because not just competition, not just winning, but also to have to make your Kendo like really like fundamental, to see that you are doing everything correct. And that still like continues. And with now that preparing for the Hachidan, I feel that I need to think everything once more over, and to really to build it up again from pieces.
Yeah, so some of those changes that you mentioned, it is a take on, it's like confidence in being able to take this next step, but there's also something that you have to overcome. And I want to approach each one individually. Let's start with the transition from a kind of full-time thinking about competition and that to no longer having that and having to change how you approach Kendo. Can you talk about, was it hard in that time, and how did you think about making that switch?
Well, it was actually it was a big relief to leave the competition, because I've during the last years, well, I was maybe I shouldn't say that, but I was lacking motivation. It's hard when you've been around for around. I started competing when I was still at Q level, and so it was like almost like 20 years of competing. So the last years, it was like I was like really gathering my motivation from bits and pieces, and really trying to just encourage the younger members to take responsibility. So when I stopped, it was in Helsinki, we had the European Kendo Championships in 2008. I stopped then, and that was a big relief. But then I started to work as a national team coach after that. So I tried to help people. So it was I think a good transition. It wasn't that hard, I should say. And at that point, I was also like having this feeling that, okay, I need to consider myself if I could be a Kendo judge, a shimpan. So I was having this feeling that, okay, I closed one door, but now I opened the next door, the next stage in my Kendo life when I stopped competing.
The other transition I want to approach is going from mainly a practitioner to starting to teach. Yeah. And especially, I'm not sure if this is true for you, but a lot of athletic people that are naturally talented find it hard to understand and approach and teach those that are less gifted in some ways, and those are slower along, or those that are less motivated even. How have you had to kind of think about your mindset in teaching people that aren't like you?
Well, I had as I'm one of the first so-called first generation Kendo people in Finland. So I've like been teaching all along my practice in life, and the Shiai things, but ever since stopped competing, I started to think about it more like seriously, how to teach, and teaching it's really like difficult, because as you said, people are different. So we learn different ways. So one is like a very visual person, then you show the visual example. One like is auditive, so you learn by hearing the explanation by words, and some people are kinesthetic, so you need to give them a feeling about how to do, and some people are very like logical, so you need to give a good reason and logic behind everything that we do, and usually it's a combination of these, and then you just like try, and then you have maybe success, and if you don't, you try something else, and then you like build up your teaching experience, and maybe slowly you can notice the things that work, and of course you need to live through them by yourself. So you need to really like believe in what you are teaching. So that's very important, because people instantly feel if you are just repeating something that you don't actually like really know by yourself. But I did, besides my work, I did a 4-year studies to become an art therapist, and there was a lot of like psychology, a lot of like not teaching but guiding, and like 500 hours of art therapy that I needed to practice, and that kind of like gave me a good like a palette of different kinds of tools to use in Kendo as well. And that was like I have some ever since the graduation as a therapist, I've used some methods in my Kendo as well, in the Kendo teaching.
Yeah, please, if you could share any that are especially effective.
Yeah, it's a bit controversial. In Kendo, usually the teachers, they point out the mistakes and correct this and correct this. But this was expressive art therapy that I studied, and it's based on phenomenology and positive psychology, and that's the phenomenology. It's more like observing and really observing the process of doing something. In this case, it's you are doing some art. Either you are painting or moving or sculpting or writing. So you are observing the process, and then you are like maybe taking notes and of that process. And so it's not the what you accomplish. It's not the ready painting that it's the target. The target is to experience of the process and observing the process. So I think that's something that we should do in Kendo as well. So what happens inside of you when you are faced by an opponent? Or how do you feel when you are under pressure or stuff like that? And I usually try to ask people that, okay, how did you feel when we were having for example, a jigeiko? because it's sometimes it's very, and then I could say that, okay, I had this impression, but how about your experience? How did you feel? And usually you get like really interesting insight when from the other people. So it's not just like saying that, okay, we did Jigeko, fix this. It's more like, we did Jigeko, I had this feeling. Maybe I could hit you because I had this idea. How did you feel? And it's, if you ask people, they are like pretty good at observing themselves. But usually in Kendo, we don't ask people too much. We just say that do this, don't do this, fix this. So these kind of like small different approaches to for example, giving feedback or teaching things.
Yeah, that reminds me of a really famous book called The Inner Game of Golf, or Inner Game of Tennis. The guy wrote two, tennis and golf, where like that's how he trains people. He will start with saying, like instead of doing what's right or wrong, it's just like, what are you doing? Paying attention to where your hands are. He might use counts. So it's like, instead of thinking about where you're stepping, it's just like 1, 2, 3, and then trying to repeat that in your head. This is very cool. I like to think about it that way too. It's like when you say a person's footwork is wrong, maybe you say, when your feet are wide, then your balance is this way. When your feet are narrow, then balance is this way. Which way do you want to be? Rather than saying, fix this because this is the only right way. It's like, give them some options.
Yeah, just like that. Yeah, thanks for the tip. I will look to that book. Yeah, inner tennis.
Inner game of tennis.
Inner game of tennis. Okay, good. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so the last transition I was thinking about is going from a member and maybe a contributor to a Kendo community to someone that's a leader and responsible for the future. So you have to not only just say, okay, well, this is the leader and he has a vision of where Kendo can be, and making sure that like if we start losing members, they'll have to think about something. But now you're that person and you're like, oh my God, it's like this dojo is starting to lose people, or this person's not interested, or general population doesn't seem to be as attracted to Kendo anymore. And you have to think about how do you maintain or even grow. How have you made that transition?
Well, I try to have deep conversations with other, like my colleagues, other Nanadam people here in Finland, my colleagues at the club, and we are constantly thinking of how to get more people involved with Kendo, and also like we have an annual seminar. Well, now it's been paused because of COVID. I think everything is paused, but we've been building up the teaching system in Finland. So we have it's called the Q seminar. So it's targeted for Q members, but then we the higher done grade people, we are working as mentors, and those people who want to be the future leaders of their clubs or in the country. So they will like take care of the teaching of the seminar, and we will observe and give them tips and hints and make them do some homework before and stuff like that. So we try to build up the system, and in some way we try to standardize the system so that wherever you are in Finland, you are if you start Kendo, so you will be taught the same good basic things. So this is one thing, and at the personal level, it's just trying to motivate the people, to give them an idea of Kendo as something like which is like very interesting, motivating, deep. It has a lot of like aspects. It's not just sport, but it's also building up your character and not giving up and doing something very consistently. So those kind of things. But I don't have any secret formula. I try to do my best, and also I try to visit the countries who are at a little bit earlier stage than we are, so we can give them our experience and help. I do feel the responsibility, and I'm since Kendo there's so many different sports, so we are all the time struggling and we are competing with people's time. You can't practice everything, and there are new sports coming up, and you see that the young people, they want to do everything. They want to do different kinds of things and not just one thing like Kendo. So we need to solve this problem: how to make Kendo fit for the 21st century, I would say.
I also know that Kiken Daiichi Dojo has a lot of other budo arts, like Japanese martial arts. Yeah. How do you see those other arts kind of fitting in within your dojo, but also more broadly, like the interactions between, I don't know, Naginata, and you mentioned Kyudo with Felix Hoff, and Kendo and Iaido?
Yeah, we have Iaido, Jodo, and Naginata besides Kendo in our dojo, and we have of course, there are separate groups, but there are some people practicing both Iaido and Kendo and Iaido and Jodo. So there's not nice interaction as well. And our dojo, we have like a common events when we mix the teams and stuff like that. It's really funny. So. And I think they are just like different. Okay, they have maybe the same background in Japanese budo, but then they are just like different paths to the same mountain. So I think they are the people who are practicing whatever discipline, they are dealing with the same problems and matters. If you do something really like seriously, you will face up the same things no matter what you do. And I think now for years we had a Kendo person as a Finnish Kendo Association's president, but since this spring, for the first time we have a Iaido and Jodo. Well, mainly Jodo person as our national association's president. So I think that's also one. I think it's a good thing to have different points of view. So we try to push this all four things practiced in our association forward.
So you mentioned you started with soccer and then you went into Kendo. In between your Kendo, like all these years, have you dabbled or played around with some other practices, some other sports, other stuff?
Just doing them by fun. I practiced and I played soccer until like I stopped 5 years ago when I started to get injured in every match. But it was just like a regional hobby level, and but football is really like a risky thing to do when you get older. Some snowboarding, some I do a lot of like running. I've ran like a couple of marathons, and I like to do just long distance, slow running around in the woods, cycling, stuff like that. But those are really like Kendo is the only one thing after soccer that I've really done like seriously. And maybe I'm very single-minded person, but if I do something, I want to do it properly and a lot. So there's just no time for anything else.
No.
Kendo.
So I want to switch into some of the rapid fire questions at the end of the interview. I like to go through. Okay, this first one. So we know that mistakes and failures and losses are sometimes the best teachers. What's an example of one of these that happened to you, a failure or a mistake that you made or a loss? It could be in a match, it could be in your practice, it could even be interpersonal with other people in the community. But what's a really good teacher in terms of experience to you?
There are minor mistakes in Kendo, nothing very serious, I hope. Maybe the ones that, when you are working as a chimpanzee, or when you make mistakes, those things. I've won a European junior team individual final. I'm not very proud of that, but those things will make you a better chimpanzee, for example. Then,
well, what happened on that one?
No, I should have stopped the game and give Hansoku and stuff like that, and it went really ugly. And I was not that experienced as a judge at that time, but they put me into the finals, and I really don't. I didn't think it was a good idea. I tried to do my best, but I was just like too paralyzed and frightened to stop the game and take the lead and stuff like that. So that was my big mistake. Well, not big, but anyway, a mistake. There's of course, I think the big failures are more related to maybe the work life, your design, or stuff like that. When you really work for something and then your client just can't take it or doesn't get it, so then you feel like really beaten. And but yeah, something like that. I don't recall any like very traumatic.
Okay. Do you have a quote or a proverb that you like, that you think about?
There was it was written in a Delphi temple in the ancient Greek, and it's called. There was written that know yourself. I think that's a very good motto. It's very difficult. I have some sentences written down, but I think that's the one thing that has been like going around in my mind for a very long time. That knowing yourself and knowing what you are made of, and I think it's really important.
What have you changed your mind in the last couple of years? Something that you used to believe strongly about, but now you think differently. Something you thought was wrong, but is right. Something you thought was right, but is wrong.
Well, I think in Kendo wise, it's been I've been starting to think things over when I've been preparing for the Hachidan test, and it's when you are a child, a mountain is a mountain. When you are an adult, you give all kinds of like metaphysical aspects to that mountain. And once you get older, the mountain becomes mountain again. So I've noticed that change in myself. It's just maybe the beginning of the change, but I try to take things more like as they are. And also in Kendo, maybe, yeah, I've become more like simpler, or how would I say, more like focused on the simple things. Mm-hmm. That's the I think the big change during the last years.
Mm. And then a couple easier questions now. What is your comfort food? What is something that when you're tired or sad or depressed or something, that when you eat it puts a smile on your face, or when it's cold outside and you just want to have it?
It's a nice big bowl of ramen. Mm. That's really my favorite food. So whenever I'm in Japan, I try to eat ramen every day. And if you have a big bowl of ramen, a set of gyoza, and a big pint of asahi, so that's really like that's really like comfort.
What's your preferred soup broth? Do you like tonkotsu, shio, miso?
Tonkotsu is one of my favorites. Yeah. But I try the different broths because it's just so fascinating that how big variety of different flavors they have around Japan. So it's really like fascinating. There is a ramen street at the Kyoto train station where you can go to different ramen bars, and they have different flavors from all over Japan. That's really like fascinating.
Yeah, we were thinking the next time we go to, I think it's somewhere close to Tokyo, but there's like a ramen museum where you can go in and you can get like small sizes, so you're able to taste more than. Yeah.
Oh, I want to go there.
Yeah, we were so hoping.
It's around, I think Yokohama. Around
Yokohama.
Yes, yeah. Because I was supposed to go there one time, but then with a Japanese friend, but we didn't find the time to go there. But it's on my list now.
Yeah, ours too. Okay, last question before we wrap up. If someone were to log into your YouTube account and look at your homepage, YouTube likes to recommend videos to you based on what you've watched in the past. What would someone see in your YouTube homepage?
Well, I think the first thing would be Kendo videos, the Hachidan test or the Hachidan sensei's teaching and explaining things. But then a lot of like animal videos. I'm doing a lot of like illustration on birds. So maybe bird videos, then dogs. I'm also working on a project that involves a lot of illustration of dogs and nature stuff like that. So it's now it's the best season in Finland. So there's like people are going around in the countryside and forest. So I've been like watching through all the places that I could go. Actually, my 1 month holiday is starting today, so I'm going off into the countryside. So lots of videos about the nice things to see in Finland.
Is there somewhere online that you share your artwork that people can check out?
Yeah, I have my webpage. It's markusfrey.com.
Okay, very simple.
Yeah, very simple. And then I think in Instagram there's some other like art stuff. It's Frey Markus, my name there. And for example, there's maybe as you contacted me, you noticed the article in the Kendo magazine. So there's some of the paintings that I did with Hakama and the footwork, stuff like that. So you can find them in my Instagram.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks so much for taking your time to do this interview. Do you have anything in closing that you might want to say to the audience, to people who are listening?
Oh, thank you. I'm very honored that you asked me to be in this podcast. So thank you very much. And well, I hope if people see this, I hope that they can come and we can have Jigeko together. So please, if you see this, contact me when we are at the same dojo and let's have a nice, good Jigeko together.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much, and have a great 1 month vacation. I hope to see some artwork coming out of it. We'll check out your website and your Instagram page.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.